Is North America better than Europe? Can 4 Marines beat 7 Stalkers? And how many balls can you juggle at the same time? Find out the answer to all of these questions in today's episode of StarCraft Today. StarCraft Today. Your favorite StarCraft news show. Season finals got played last week, and on the first day we had a surprise of a lifetime as Scarlett managed to take out not only Cure, the current GSL champion, but also Trap, probably the most consistent player of the end of 2020 and so far in 2021 as well. Now Trap sometimes does lose to foreign Zerg. We've seen Lambo pull it off a bunch of times already. I believe Elaser also managed to do it at a Katowice qualifier once. But a North American Zerg, we hadn't quite seen that trick before, so very impressive out of Scarlett, a result that not a lot of people expected, perhaps a result that a lot of people hoped for. She seemed to be in very good shape, ZVT looking strong, timings in ZVP looking strong as well, and definitely the biggest upset in the group stages. All the other groups pretty much played out as expected. We saw Rogue and Dark come out of Group C, we saw Clem and Zest come out of Group B, and of course out of Group D we saw Seru and Maru. Seru managing to take out Maru in that winner's match in a pretty clean series as well. Perhaps not as surprising as the shape of Seru's CVT is extremely good right now. Moving into a stacked quarterfinals with the first match being Clem versus Trap. Clem actually managing to take out Trap here, and that is not a huge surprise because including this one, out of the last 5 matches that these two have played, Clem managed to win 4 times now, actually showing that he is completely capable of taking out probably the best TVP player in the world in Trap. Clem has stated that he feels a lot more confident in his TVP these days, perhaps even a little more confident in TVP than he feels in his once so famed TVZ. Second match in the quarterfinal, Maru versus Dark, where Maru just kind of reigned supreme. Maru's only real weak spot seems to be either Serral or Protoss players, and especially Korean Protoss players seem to be his weak spot. But with Trap out of the way, there definitely was some potential here for Maru. Then the third match was our North American, Canadian Scarlett taking out Zest 3-2 in a very exciting series as well. One-sided games at times, other times close, clutch games. In the end, Scarlett, in a fashion that she's not unfamiliar with, clutched out the series 3-2 in very, very tight games. It was very fun to watch, and it's cool to see once again Scarlett rise back to prominence. And in the final match, we did have Rogue versus Serral, and this perhaps was a bit of an upset for a lot of people. It definitely was an upset for me. Serral actually lost to Rogue in what does seem to be Serral's weakest matchup, the ZVZ. Whenever he tends to lose early on in the tournament, it tends to be against Zerg players. That was the case here once again as Rogue took him out and managed to actually secure a semifinal spot. In that semifinal, Rogue took on Scarlett, and in once again a very close series. This time didn't quite end that well for Scarlett. She lost 2-3, Rogue being our first finalist. On the other side, we had Maru versus Clem, and I believe that out of the last 4 or 5 series that Clem played against Korean Terrans, he hasn't been capable of beating them, and that streak continued. As this time he wasn't even able to take a single map. Maru took him out with a clean 3-0 sweep, leaving us with a Maru versus Rogue final. And once again, if the Zerg isn't Serral and there's no Korean Protoss, Maru's just going to win. And that's exactly what he did in a very convincing series. In almost all of the games, he just looked a lot stronger than Rogue, in my opinion. He took out Rogue 4-2, secures the championship, and I think that's the second time he beats out Rogue in a final. We had Aces Rock earlier, which Maru won, and now we have the DreamHack season finals, which Maru won. This honestly is looking very spicy as a lead-up, not only to TSL 8, but also later on for the IEM Katowice. There's a lot of contenders for that World Championship crown, and Maru just kind of added his name on that list one more time. This week's game of the week wasn't played in the DreamHack seasonal finals where the big bucks were on the line. Instead, it was played on one of the ESL Open Cups, ESL Open Cup 96 in Europe to be exact. It was game 2 between Clem and ShoWTimE, played on Glittering Ashes. One of the most insane games I've watched in my entire life. A 45-minute slugfest, which ends with 4 Marines, 2 Medevacs and 2 SCVs against 2 Stalkers and 2 Probes, trying to take out these Marines before all the buildings disappear. The early game is wild as well. People throwing units at each other, ghosts, disruptors being handed in for free, and a follow-up a base trade into a stabilization period, another base trade into no stabilization ever again, and just 6-7 units running around trying to kill each other, shields regenerating. I'm not quite sure if this is the highest level, but just the pure grit that both players showed and the amount of little inventive tricks that they got during this game, to me, probably makes this the game of the year. And definitely the game of the week, the month, of the quarter, of the season, whatever you have. Fantastic. Go watch it. Talking about these ESL Open Cups, we had 3 of them this week, starting on Sunday with Korea, in which we saw an unleashed Time show some Korean Terrans that his TVT is also very good, taking out Beyond 3-1 in the semifinals and then barely losing in the finals to Cure, who is absolutely no slouch when it comes to TVT. 3-2 in favor of Cure, so after Cure dropping out of that seasonal finals group, he said, you know what, at least I'm gonna win an ESL Open Cup, and he definitely did. In the second ESL Open Cup in Europe, we saw Clem versus Special in the finals, who's been playing from Mexico with about 160 ping. Pretty decent result there out of Special. Sadly did lose 0-3 to Clem in the finals, as Clem adds another big ESL Open Cup Europe win onto his achievement list. And then in America, we saw Australia take out Beyond 3-0 in the finals. A very impressive result. We also saw Australia take out Max Specs before that. So just a fantastic run out of Australia, who has been showing big signs of improving. And that kind of puts America, and well, North America, back on the map. In 1 week, we have Scarlett destroying her group, getting to the semifinals. And we have Australia performing this well as well in his own ESL Open Cup. That kind of gives us 2 players that are top. We know that Neep is always there lurking around as well. And it feels like in the first time since forever that North America actually feels like a region to take serious again. And that's nice to see. For this week's clip of the week, we have Trap once again showing that he truly is the master of mind racks.
Trap, he's relying on these Phoenix so hard to do magic.
Yep, you just gotta go for a kamikaze move here, I think. With your Phoenixes, fly them over the bio and hope that the Widowmines kill the Terran army, and they do a lot of damage. Oh my goodness! I mean, sure, it's all your Phoenix, but it's also all the bio, all the medevacs. I mean, that was just expensive on both sides, but it's one way to survive.
That was some fantastic control out of Trap there, and it shows that mines do not discriminate. Protoss or Terran unit, they're gonna do a whole lot of damage. That's going to be it for today, but not before we have a look at how many balls one can juggle, and what the maximum amount of balls is, and that is 11. I can do 3. But my good friend Alex Barron can do 11, and he can complete 2 sequences of juggling with that. That is the world record. There's also a thing called a flash, in which you throw all balls once and you all catch those. And he can do that with 14 balls. There's a nice piece on Wired. I'll leave a link to that in the description below, which kind of explores this and juggling in general. And it's quite cool. I'd recommend that. Look at that. It's collaboration with Wired, except they don't know that we're collaborating. But go check that out. That's going to be it for today's episode of StarCraft Today. If you did enjoy it, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hopefully we'll see you all next time for a new video. Thank you so much for watching, and bye-bye.